to my channel. I'm Andre. So today we're in the kitchen again. If this is the first time you're viewing my channel and you're here to check out the recipe on Kleftico, I'm not your normal cook that stands there with everything perfect. We're in a real life kitchen. You'll hear washing machines, maybe the odd dispute with my husband. We're waiting for my granddaughter to arrive because we're babysitting. So it's basically real life. So today we are cooking Kleftico, and this is a requested video. So Daniel, this one's for you. You requested a lamb recipe. So this is a recipe that my husband used to actually cook in the restaurant. But we're using, and it will be my husband that will be doing the recipe, but we're using, what cuts of meat are we using today?
Shoulder of lamb.
We're using shoulder of lamb, but in the restaurant when my husband used to cook it, he used to use
Lamb shanks.
Lamb shanks. So that's what we do. But he'll go over all the recipe. So Kleftico actually means stolen in Greek, and I'll tell you the history about that. Well, I won't tell you the history. My husband will tell you the history once I give him a chance to come on camera. But when I was in, and I've never lived in Cyprus, but we used to visit, my uncle used to actually have a clay oven in the back. I say garden, but it's, you know, a vast bit of land. Which they used to cook their Sunday roasting and Kleftico as well, and it was a clay oven, and they used to actually seal the oven every time they cooked in it. So yeah, so let's get on with the recipe. So over to my husband.
Today we're going to cook Kleftico, as Andy said. We're going to use shoulder of lamb as opposed to using a lamb shank. I do think for the house, shoulder of lamb is the perfect cut of meat because of the marbling in it, and it's just a beautiful piece of meat. We will be cooking it in a traditional oven, just a plain standard oven as opposed to a clay oven, and try and give it as much flavour as what you would get of cooking it in a clay oven. We'll be using just a few different ingredients. We've got mountain oregano from Cyprus, some bay leaves, salt, some black peppercorns, some lemon, and I'll be adding some carrot and celery to the base of the pan to rest the meat on it, and also some onion. And that's about it.
So basically, like I've said in my other recipes are adapted. So, you know, somebody may not add carrot to Kleftico. It's not a traditional thing to add, but this is how my husband cooks his recipes. He always likes to add these things for extra flavour. This is where he and I sometimes disagree in the kitchen, because I like to keep to traditional cooking and tend to do it the way my mum used to cook, whereas my husband tends to adapt recipes because he's a chef, and they've kind of adapted recipes through the years because he learnt from his dad to cook, because his dad was a restaurateur. So his recipes are adapted. So, you know, you may look at this and think, oh, I've never added carrot to Kleftico, so on and so forth. But remember, recipes are adapted. You add flavours that you like, and you take flavours out that you dislike. So here we are now. So he's now chopping up the carrot just here, and the onion all getting chopped up, which, like he said, he's going to add to the base of the pan. There's nothing else in the pan at the moment, just the carrots and the onions. He's also chopping up some celery. Again, you don't have to add these. This is just the way he likes to do it, just to add extra flavour. And what did you say it's to rest the lamb on?
We'll rest the lamb on that. The good thing of doing that as well, it will stop, if the tray gets hot, it will stop the meat from burning and allow the meat to cook through.
Right, so what's the story behind Kleftico?
Well, there are lots of stories about Kleftico. Some stories say that common people were not allowed to own livestock in the 19th century in Cyprus, so they used to go and steal a lamb or a goat, and then they would steal the lamb, goat, cut it up, dig a hole in the ground, burn some coals, put the meat in, cover it all up with a boulder, leaves, so nothing would escape from there, no smell, no smoke, and they would cook their meal over an 8 to 12 hour period, and then they would go and dig their meal back out. That's apparently what was happening in the 19th century in Cyprus. Lots of different stories, but in today's day they still use lamb, the traditional clay ovens now, so that's the story that I know.
But it does taste, I mean, when it's coming out of a clay oven, it's totally different to the taste
Absolutely.
of it coming out of your tradition.
So much so that in Cyprus now, when you go to, even in Nicosia, in the suburbs of Nicosia, there are clay ovens that people make Kleftico, and people just go and buy it on a Saturday night for like getting your takeaway, and it's a lovely piece of meat.
Right, so back to the recipe.
Yeah. There's about near enough 2 kilos of shoulder here. I think it was about 1.8 kilos, and we're just going to season it before we put it in the tray.
So that's some olive oil now. See, I would have had that in the pan and seasoned it in the pan. So that's just me though, you know. This is me gonna be annoying now because I have to put my penny's worth in.
If you wished in advance, you could marinate all this in a bowl and leave it for a while just so it gets all these flavours in.
And this is a meal that is very slow cooked, so it takes a couple of hours just to get the meat really tender, and it's basically falling off the bone. See, I can't keep my mouth shut. I have to kind of, I'm just here. So what's that you're rubbing in just
That's
now?
the oregano.
So it's rubbed in the olive oil, the lemon juice, and the oregano. All being rubbed into the meat. That's my dogs barking in the background. You know, they have to be in on the act as well.
We're gonna add some salt. We can insert some bay leaves. More lemon.
And he's splashing them on my windowsill there.
Some peppercorns, plenty of them.
Whole peppercorns.
Whole peppercorns. And also some freshly cut rosemary
From the garden.
from the garden, just to add to the infusion of flavours. Okay, and finally we're going to add a cup of water.
That's the dogs barking because my son's now arrived with my granddaughter, so that's what the background noise is.
So, there it is, ready for the oven.
All ready for work. Look how glamorous she is. Oh, I am with you. So here we go, back to the recipe. So it's now being covered, sealed with foil. Plenty of foil just to keep in all the heat. There we go. Family here arrived. Here you go. Son's off to the football while his wife's off to work.
Hello.
And I get the baby. See? He's a beautiful girl.
Ready for the oven.
There we go. All sealed up. What's the temperature?
180.
So 180, and how long are you going to keep it in for before you check it?
About 3.5 hours.
Like chicken,
What is it? You think? Is that you? You're my baby girl. You're my baby girl. Eat that. Eat that. Eat that. Eat that. So the lamb has been in the oven now for about 3 hours. And after the first hour passed, we then lowered the oven to 160. So it's been on 160 now for the last 2 hours. Meanwhile, I prepped my potatoes. I've just peeled my potatoes and I've got them sitting in cold water just now until I'm ready to cook them. And once I start doing them, I've got all my ingredients ready here. So it's basically, I've got here fresh rosemary again, onion which I'm going to chop with the potatoes. I've got some minced garlic here, some tomatoes, some crushed tomatoes here, cinnamon, olive oil, black pepper, some crushed coriander just here, salt, and yeah, that's it. And then I'll go through how I make the potatoes. And again, this is how my mum used to make roast potatoes. So we're just going to check the meat now to see how far on it is and how much longer it's going to need. Okay, so we're just going to open up the oven and check the meat. And oh my, if you could only smell this just now. So this is the first time we're checking it. That's what it looks like after 3 hours of cooking.
Oh, it's good.
Is it good?
Oh, it's good. It's ready.
You're not going to turn it over or anything? No, no. We're just adding juices, taking some of the juices and just coating the meat with it.
We've just basted the meat a little and we can check to see if it's cooked. It's falling away from the bone effortlessly, so it's cooked to perfection.
So here are my potatoes which I had peeled and sitting in cold water, and now I'm ready to prep them. So I've cut them basically in half like that, which is not really your usual way of cutting roast potatoes, but this is how my mum used to cut them. So this is how I've done it. So I've just got them in a roasting tray just there, and now I'm going to add these ingredients here. So I'm just going to firstly add my onion, and I'm just going to chop it any old way. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just adding the onion over the potatoes just like that. I'm going to stir everything in anyway. So just cutting it any old way just adds a nice flavour to the potatoes, like so. And some salt as well over everything, which is going to get stirred. And I'm going to add my olive oil, because we love our olive oil, just plenty of olive oil. Some sieved tomatoes, just going to add that over the potatoes as well, like so. Probably just use half that amount, but we'll see. Some minced garlic over the potatoes. My crushed coriander as well. Doesn't really matter in what sequence you put in the ingredients, because it's all going to get stirred in. Some cinnamon on the potatoes. There we go, over the potatoes, some nice cinnamon. Just adding plenty of flavour. My black pepper, like so. Plenty black pepper. And also going to add my fresh rosemary just over the top, and another splash of olive oil. And I'm going to give it all a good stir. So everything is coated. Potatoes are coated with the tomato, with the olive oil, salt, the black pepper. You can also use fresh tomatoes if you so wish. I've decided just to use the sieve tomatoes, and all of this juice will reduce down. Potatoes will soak it up, and we'll have some lovely Greek roast potatoes, just the way Mama used to make. There we go. Everything's coated well. Sometimes, you know, when they used to make the lamb in the ovens in Cyprus, they used to add the potatoes as well. There we go. I think I'm going to add just small black pepper over the top, just here. There we go. And just a little more salt. You know, it's all about flavouring. Like I've said before, if you don't like any of these ingredients, don't add them. But this is how my mum used to make her roast potatoes. There we go. Now I'm just going to put them into the oven. That's what they look like. So potatoes I'm going to put in the middle of the shelf. Here. We're also going to put the lamb back into the oven as well just now, right at the bottom. Is that correct? You've covered that up with foil. You decided to put foil on it, double layer of foil again. Goes right at the bottom shelf. So the meat is basically cooked, so we're just kind of letting it just draw in the juices now at the bottom of the oven while the potatoes cook. I'm going to turn the oven up slightly for my potatoes to just about 200, and then I'll come back and check them. So I'm now going to check the potatoes. That's been about 45 minutes. So yum, that's what they look like. And yeah, soft in the middle. I'm going to give them a wee stir round and put them back in. There we go, just to all the bottom ones. Oh, yum. And the outside is crispy. You can hear that, nice and crispy. And I'm just giving it all a good stir, and they'll go back in the oven. And absolutely it smells divine. You see this? Yum. There we go. And back in the oven for maybe another 20 minutes or so, but I'll let you know. Hush doggies, bunny nosies. So there we go. Now I'm going to take the Kleftico out, and I'm just going to let it sit on top there, and all the steam and all the juices are all going to draw in while the potatoes are finishing up. So that's us so far. Okay, so I've turned the oven off now, so the meat's been resting there. The potatoes are now cooked. There we go, yummy. So they've drawn in all that juice, and they've got a lovely colour. And we've got a salad ready here, and we're going to dress the salad with olive oil, pepper, vinegar and salt, and that will be the dressing for our salad. So there we go. We'll have a look how the meat looks as well. The meat up. And so you've added salt to the salad, now the black pepper, and my daughter-in-law said we should actually record all the off-camera stuff when we're arguing. We don't argue, do we, darling?
Not at all, honey, not at all.
Olive oil, vinegar.
Not while we're sleeping anyway.
And anyway, so now we're going to open a bottle of Prosecco. It's a Prosecco Saturday. There's a glass for moi, that's me, and one for my daughter-in-law who's now finished work. There we go, expertly done.
wanting yours?
There we go, darling.
There you go, Ruth. Cheers.
Cheers.
So here we go, here's the finished product, and that's how the meat just totally falls off the bone. So here we have the
Cut it with a
potato.
spoon.
That's how tender the meat is, just so moist. And of course you can take some of the juices from the bottle, which is plenty juice there, and you could just put it over the meat, or you can make a gravy with that as well. So there you go, and there's the potatoes, lovely, yummy. So cheers. So that's my Kleftico recipe. So cheers. Remember, okay, moaning in the background, okay, his saying, no, okay. His recipe of how to make Kleftico. So cheers. Remember to give me a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed, then please subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.